Somali.
Yeah, no, it's coming from for
Just
the
gonna tell your
notification.
story.
Yeah. So I think, Gerald, what we'll do with you is we'll introduce you first of all, and then we'll let you give a little background on what you do. We'll go around robin on who's who. Okay. So it appears as though we are streaming live on Facebook. So guys, welcome to Battle Buddies Live. Thanks for joining tonight. I've actually seen a couple of you guys do a stream on this. Mr. Sepe over there. Oh, and we got Justin showing up. He said he's going to show up. Here's the Marine Corps.
Oh.
You know, a little big. This is the first and only time I've ever heard the word Marine Corps and didn't hear a raw instantly. Anyway, tonight we've got a couple special guests. We've got Gerald and Justin. We're going to let them introduce themselves and give you a little bit of background on what they do. So there's going to be a couple of new opportunities here for you guys to network. And now we're getting Marine heavy, guys.
Whoa.
This is getting uncomfortable now. Zach Johnson as well from McAfee. So we will start off with the almighty, infamous troll, the one and only, Oogie Boogie. If you don't mind introducing yourself and giving people a little bit of background on you, and we'll just go around the robin here on who you guys are.
Yeah, sure. So my name is Andrew Sepe. I did 10 years in U.S. Army. I was infantry for 10 years. I did 4 combat tours. 2 Iraq, 2 Afghanistan. I was in 3rd IG, 101st, Spartans, 1-1. And that's basically it, man.
Okay. Mr. Watts?
James Watts, Army from 99 to 2003. Been in the civilian world since then, corporate America, helping other veterans out, trying to get them to their next mission or next career.
A little shout out to the Navy and their sidekicks that they drop off at the shore of the Marine Corps. It's kind of like your birthday light, I guess. Gerald, do you mind introducing yourself and a bit of background on yourself, please?
Yeah, my name's Gerald Trihane. I'm 22 and a half years Army. Spent a lot of that time in recruiting command, and I now work for a government contracting company. And so I try to help vets out with their transition to the contracting sector and, you know, just in general. So I'm really excited to be here tonight. Thanks.
Pete?
Hey, Pete needs no introduction. No, I'm just kidding. I'm the resume resource for the group. 23 years combined Air Force and Air National Guard. And what more can I say?
Justin.
My name is Justin Rost. I'm the director of the Minnesota Helmets to Hard Hats program, but I am connected into also the National Helmets to Hard Hats program. I was Marine Corps Infantry, 99 to 03. And so what we do is we help veterans transition into the union construction building trades.
Mr. Johnson, are you unmuting tonight and participating?
I'm unmuted, but nobody needs to see me. I'm battling a freaking migraine all day.
You don't want to see your pretty face anyway.
Lovely right now. Zach Johnson, United States Marine Corps, combat wounded, combat engineer, 2007 to 2011. Stationed in Kaneohe Bay, Hawaii, also, just like Justin. Yeah, I worked for the Minnesota Assistance Council for Veterans. We're a not-for-profit here in the state that helps end veteran homelessness. I am an employment specialist over there. Formerly worked for DEED, the Department of Employment and Economic Development. Also helped veterans with employment over there. Here to be supportive. If anybody is needing help with resumes, resume class, we have that stuff. If they are experiencing homelessness or if they are struggling financially, give me a holler. Find me on LinkedIn.
Hey, Zach, there's a program coming up to end the homelessness in Minnesota, right?
We're doing a big program with E2020 right now.
Yep.
That's through the Minnesota Military Exchange. Again, I'll try to throw up a link to that in the chat for everybody.
Okay, cool.
Excellent.
Mr. Blanco, thanks for joining. You mind?
Hey, thanks for having me, man. Appreciate it. It's nice to finally get a chance to talk to you.
Yeah. you mind introducing yourself? And then we're going to jump into the government side and the trade side of things with Justin and Gerald. And feel free to, this is a collaborative session here on helping vets get back to work. So
great. Awesome. So my 60-second shtick is pretty much born and raised in South Florida, Miami. I can't deal with all that cold weather that you guys do up there. So I stay my nice butt down here on the beaches. Went to Florida International University. I started out in finance for about 8 years, where I did capitalization of market portfolios, and quit my job on a Friday and joined the Army on a Monday for no other reason than I just wanted to jump out of airplanes. And I had a really good recruiter, right? Told me it was just going to be like Call of Duty. So I spent the next 11 years of my life doing something I absolutely love. Was picked up for the Project Warrior program post-command, but I had a parachute malfunction. Burned into the drop zone pretty hard, broke a few bones, would recover. I would live to jump a couple more times, but the Army kind of said no mas. And so I said, okay, no big deal. I went and got my MBA, my PMP. Now I do management consulting in the local area down here in South Florida, small, medium-sized businesses, and helping them scale, identify systems of growth in terms of decision-making processes, systems, and talent gaps. And I do veteran advocacy on the side. I'm not really ingrained with any specific program, even though I do follow Chuck very closely. And he and I have spoken prior to. I have experience in helping veterans work on their resumes, but specifically my niche is networking and how to go about doing that, utilizing different platforms like LinkedIn to do so to help veterans find employment.
You want to tell everybody about your dog hustle you got going on too? Plug
My
that.
what?
Your dogs.
Oh, all my cool guy stuff. Well, this is
No,
more
your
from-
dogs. Your DOG.
Oh, dogs.
Yeah, those
And
dogs that you're
that's
adopting off.
excellent.
all the time. Yeah.
So I do. I got a big heart for lost and stray animals. So I foster hospice dogs. So dogs that are living in shelters that are clinically dying or terminally ill. So I take them to the shelters and I house them for however long that they have left. And, it works out really well. I got one giant drooler here now by the name of Godzilla, who is just, I have a really nice apartment. It's like Turner and Hooch in here right now. So,
So are you saying that veterans like animals? No way! Who would have thought?
Can't tame
I
them
think
either.
veterans like animals more
Or
than
dogs.
Right.
Dogs of all things. Like I would never do that.
Yeah. Right. So yeah, I do that a little bit on the side.
That's awesome, man. I'm actually not far from you. I'm in Fort Lauderdale.
That's where I live. I live in Fort Lauderdale.
Oh, dude. All right. We'll talk after. We'll do beers.
I'm 2 blocks away from Las Olas.
Yeah, I'm on Dixie and 56th.
Yeah, I know exactly where you're at. Oh, yeah.
Yes.
There you go.
Well, it's easy to know where all the
Making
trails are
connections
at.
throughout the country.
That's
All
a
right,
number one place to find
don't
them.
watch the news tonight. There might be a
Lots
Florida
reserved.
man story.
There's always a Florida.
We expect an extraordinary Florida man story.
There you go.
Oh.
Right. Yeah.
They get hard to top.
Done.
They make memes. That 90% of the memes on the planet, I think, come out of Florida.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Panhandle. Oh yeah.
You hate us because you ain't us.
Yeah. Right. So I think that there's always on Battle Buddies we get a lot of stuff for government, and that seems to be probably sort of an Achilles heel on the page since we don't have any subject matter experts till now. We got Gerald here. So Gerald, do you mind giving some people background on like best practices or whatever? I'm just going to sit back and let you
Yeah.
your recruit talk.
So kind of first piggybacking off of Michael's comments, the networking piece is really huge in the government contracting world. And the reason being is we use it not only as a way to find the talent, but at the same time, it's a way to get the word out. When you look at the number of sites out there that you can hang your resume on and you can pay somebody to tweak your resume and do all these things, that connections through LinkedIn is really huge, because there may be positions where I need to find somebody fast. I don't have, 6 months to have a vacant position open. So I blast it out to all my connections, and those connections either A, are the person looking for the work, or B, they know somebody who does. So the big thing I tell people is have that strong LinkedIn profile. There's probably those out there who are better at it than I am as far as how it should be laid out and everything, but highlight those skills you have, especially, those one-off skills that not necessarily everybody that was an 11 Bravo has, or, as a 42 Alpha, if you got that, your PMP, like those things are huge in the government contracting world to have those certifications. So make sure you highlight them, because I'm going to be looking on there for them. I can do searches. I can, right now click PMP and see how many of my connections have them. And so if I'm looking for somebody that has a PMP and maybe a IT background, well, now I'm going to search both PMP and IT and see the list of my connections, or even the seconds connections that I have, and I'm going to reach out to them first. So that's probably one of the big things, is definitely sticking to that networking piece. Because again, not every job makes it to those career pages as fast as you'd like. Sometimes that's the first place we look, and that's as far as we look. I don't know if that kind of answers your question, at least on that part.
Hey, Gerald, when you say government contractor, you talking about like the Lydioses of the world?
Yep.
Right. Exactly. So, okay. So your companies that are formed for the purposes of garnering government contracts to solve solutions. That's a huge space.
It is.
And it's really lucrative.
It is. And one of the big things I will tell you is, obviously not all companies are created equal.
Right.
In the government sector, you will see things where normally you wouldn't normally go, okay, well, why are they advertising that? So as an example, the government sets aside a certain amount of all those contracting dollars to veteran-owned businesses, women-owned businesses, disabled veteran businesses, minority-owned businesses. There's HUD zone businesses. So there's a lot of companies that kind of actually have a leg up when it comes to some of those contracts. And so just because, I'm not going to use names, but the giant companies out there who, they're going to be in the huge, hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars contracts, but you'll find these smaller ones that are in those niche markets that really pay just as good, probably have as good, if not better, benefits packages. And also their culture is more, smaller business where everybody knows everybody. You think about it. If you want to move up in the world, there's, 100,000 people in one company or 1,000 in another. Where are you most likely to be seen? And so that's where I tell people, whether it's with the company I represent, or somebody else, look at those things, because they really do, have a theater to play in.
Hey, Gerald, we had a question come in that I wanted to ask to both you and Justin. So Rob's asking, what are the trending available positions that may be overlooked during these times? Who's struggling to get people to fill these positions? Is it specific, like logistics, career, et cetera? What are you seeing?
I will tell you, logistics and acquisitions seems to always be in the need for people. The big thing with that, though, is those certifications. If you're still on active duty right now, like I highly, highly encourage you, or in the reserves, to log on to DAU and do those acquisition 101s, those, DIWEA level 1 courses. Yeah, you're going to be spending your time now to have those certifications, but when you get out, those are the things we're looking for. So you're going to put yourself A, higher up on the list, and B, you're going to be then opened up to positions that normally the average person, with a logistics background coming out doesn't have. So by getting those certs, you're going to look a lot more not presentable, but more desired by those of us looking for them.
Okay. And Justin, what about you on the trade side?
On the trade side, two of the biggest openings we usually see throughout the year is the carpenters, and we see the roofers. A lot of people assume that when you say roofers, you mean shingling, and that couldn't be further from the truth. Often they do multiple different types of roofing, including plastic welding and rubber roofing and lead and green roofs that may have dirt and trees planted on them and things like that. There's a lot of options there, but also the carpenters. in certain parts of the US right now, I mean, like right here in Minnesota, I mean, the weather's starting to drop. You're starting to get those cold mornings and things like that. Construction will start to slow down up here. So like Gerald was saying, another good thing to do here is also take those tech courses. If you want to be an electrician, go get enrolled and get that stuff done. You complete a certificate course through any of the tech colleges up here. You can use that to get into the electricians come spring when they start hiring again, things like that. So.
Okay. And Mike, thank you for sharing that link. I put it in the Facebook post for people to see. So I guess same question to you, Mike, on the private side. I mean, from my industry, tech is obviously always in demand, developers, engineers, that sort of thing. But what are you seeing anything that maybe people are overlooking?
So there's a big misunderstanding that in order to go into tech, whether it be big or small, you need to be a tech guy. That's absolutely 100% not the case.
Correct.
And if you do need some technical certifications, the link I just provided, Syracuse University and the Onward to Opportunity program provides education and certifications which are clutch. To Gerald's point, there are jobs that are going to require you to have a PMP. There are jobs that are going to require you to have certain levels of training. Now what I find is that a lot of veterans are like, it's a you eat what you kill society, right? And that's very true in the civilian sector. So if you need those certifications, you need to go out and get them. But in a lot of cases, they are free. Or a lot of companies will use LinkedIn Learning has a huge swath of certification level programs. They won't provide you the actual certification, but companies will look at your LinkedIn certification because it's a 40-hour course, just like you would have to go through in a PMP or an Agile certification, and they'll take that into consideration when they're looking at your application. And so in tech, again, like, you don't need to be a tech guy. There are also opportunities in tech in sales to launch you into a career in tech. So these huge lucrative positions are right there for you if you want to go into it in sales. And the misconception of sales that a lot of people have is, look, man, we're not like, if you're doing the MISSLE program, so MISSLE is Military and Sales and Leadership at Cisco Systems, based in Raleigh, North Carolina. A good guy to talk to is a guy by the name of Mike Wood, who runs that program. You're not selling toasters, right? You're selling multi-million-dollar contracts. And so the upside of that sales job is a good base salary plus a really robust commission side of the house. And you're doing sales, and it's giving you a leg into the tech industry. It's building your experience. So later on, you can actually go off and go to the Googles and the Microsofts of the world in a more specific tech capacity.
Hey, we had another individual show up here. Matt, do you mind introducing yourself quick to everybody?
Sure. Hi, everybody. My name is Matt Durkee. I am a U.S. Army from 1990 to 2000. I recently, about in April, finished my master's in military psych, and I'm in a doctoral program for community counseling, traumatology, and care. And also currently I work at a community college. We talk about a lot of things that you guys have been talking about, looking at those things. My thesis and my area of scholarly work is focusing on the transition process for service members to becoming a veteran, becoming either a student or vocational work, and you know, those aspects. So from my perspective, I look at the educational perspective, and everything that everybody said is you guys are all spot on. Before you get out, make sure, take those free classes, go to your educational unit, set up there, take classes. I actually have a friend of mine who got 4 years of their education done, their BA, and was able to get hired on as a special ed teacher where I live up here in Washington State. So it's just looking at those. And then also when you transition out, there are those programs like I looked at the Syracuse one, and there's Syracuse, every university, vocational college or technical college or community college will have that program. Is getting connected, taking that first step, walking in the door, looking at what you are. The one big takeaway is to be very realistic about the skill sets that you have now in the moment, in the present, because a lot of us know we can BS the big time, but when you actually look at the jobs in the market, you have to know what your actuality of skill set is, your educational skill set, the certifications you have that are transferable. When I got out, I was a 73, well, my first MOS was 11 Bravo, then I reclassed to 73 Delta, which was finance and accounting. It did not, it did not make me qualified to be an accountant when I got out of the Army. So you have to be very realistic and understand that there's going to be more training. I thought I was actually going to go into middle management. You're not going straight away into middle management. Even though we're older, we may have that experience from the military side of the perspective. You also have to look at the civilian, the educational side of the perspective and where they're coming from as well too. So it's that the transition, and I apologize. So I will pass it back. Thank you, everybody.
Hey,
Nice.
Gerald.
Yep.
Do you mind kind of discussing what those opportunities within contracting look like? And then we'll go Justin and Mike.
Yeah, I will say, just caveat on what Matt said is he's spot on. I come across it a lot, and I know my counterparts do, with people going, well, I did, I retired as a first sergeant, 42 Alpha. So I should be the, vice president of HR. Well, that's great. And you have a lot of experience. However, your corporate equivalent as that director of HR has the certifications and the schooling to back the title. And so that is a key point. The other is in the government contracting world, right? Most contracts, and there are varying degrees, and we could spend hours and hours talking about them. But in general, if you use the rule of thumb of about 5 years, is pretty much the lifespan of contracts, right? They have what they'll call a 1 with 4 option years or 3 with 2 option years. So because of that risk, there is at times a little bit more money than you would see in your, standard corporate America job for the same title. But at the same time, know what you're worth and know where you're applying, right? The days of 2006 when you could go overseas and make $140,000 base being a base security guard, plus all that extra money, are gone. Right now, especially the COVID world has taught us, with people working remotely, companies don't necessarily have to spend as much money on you. So you're going to see some fluctuation in the salaries, what you might see on, Glassdoor and other sites. So I tell you, do your market research, know your value, but also know the value in that area. If you're going up into DC, that job may be worth whatever it might be, maybe $120,000. Well, in El Paso, that might be worth only $65,000 a year. Where's your money going to carry you more? And so that's one of those key things, I think, especially in the contracting world, people need to understand when it comes to the money piece. With the trades, you might join a particular company and you may work 20 years for them doing the same job or moving up, progressing. In contracting, we may own the contract today, but in 2 years we may lose. And now you're working for Chuck. And then a couple years down the road, you're working for Mike. And then you're working for Matt. And that's the nature of this business too, is, the longevity with a single company isn't necessarily always there unless you're with one of the giants where you can move around quite a bit.
I want to jump on something that Mike said earlier that I think we don't talk about enough as a group. And it's kind of close to me because it's what I do. Mike mentioned tech sales or sales in general. People kind of get this wrong impression of what sales is. And it's a great career for veterans to move into because we have the work ethic. We don't let things get us down, and we know how to just pile through, drive through whatever we need to accomplish the mission. So we have the right mindset for it, and it can be a very lucrative career. So even if you don't have the certifications or the ability to get that, or don't think that's what I want to do, there are other options out there too that you can do. And I just don't think we talk about that enough as a group.
Yeah, if you know how to solve problems and work, those are probably the 2 biggest elements of sales. I mean, if you don't do either of those real well, you're going to suffer real fast. Justin, trades, like, you want to talk about plug hard hats, how to get
Sure.
in there, and then kind of how your scales work and stuff for these guys?
Well, I'd like to, first off, I want to build on what James is saying. I think what gets overlooked, though, I know Matthew was saying that maybe your job skills aren't necessarily transferable without an education behind it, even though you've put in all that time in the military and stuff like that. But I think the thing everyone should remember is that you have a great bunch of soft skills, too, that make you a great employee right out of the gate. Attention to detail is extremely important in the trades. Being able to watch somebody else, especially in an apprenticeship program, and then being able to use that skill and hold yourself to that same standard to try and make it as nice as possible, whatever that project may be, that's an invaluable skill that a lot of the civilian world is never taught. But you guys know that from your first wall locker or foot locker inspection, it's ingrained in you to do these things and do them as best you can so that you don't get hammered, right? The ability to show up on time is critical nowadays. And that's something that there's a lot of the civilian world that cannot get out of bed and show up for work every day, especially in a labor job. And that's something that vets are super reliable about. They get up, they work hard, they take accountability for themselves. They have the ability to pass on orders that are handed to them. I mean, your general orders alone are often enough to make you a really great employee with your soft skills. So then after that, it's a matter of learning the tangible hard skills, right? It's learning your trade. And then that's what the apprenticeship programs offer is they take somebody who already can be a great employee, and then they teach you the technical skills of how to do something specific in the construction industry. So whether you want to learn to be an electrician, whether you want to learn to be a sheet metal worker, I myself spent 7 years as a sheet metal worker. I worked my way from pre-apprentice all the way up to journeyman. And it was a great road for me. I had no problems. I loved it. I still love it. And if the program ended up falling apart tomorrow, I'd be back in sheet metal the day after. So what we do at Helmets to Hard Hats is we help introduce veterans to the construction trades. And the way we do that is we're a conduit of information. You go to www.helmetstohardhats.org and you create a profile. Once you create that profile, you're going to be able to select the trades that you're interested in. Okay. Once those, and something important to know is that depending on where you are in the United States, you are going to get a regional manager or a state manager that is in your area. So if you sign up and you're from Minnesota, you're going to go to me. And
the link is in the Facebook post, by the way, Justin. So.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Funny, we both did.
So if you come to me, what you're going to do is you're going to select trades of interest, and those trades of interest are going to be the trades that you specifically want to pursue. If you say want to be let's just go with a few of them. Let's go with elevator constructors, roofers, and let's just say pipe fitters, right? What you're going to get from me is you're going to get information based on those trades and based on your geographic location inside of Minnesota. So if you're up in if you're down in Red Wing, you're going to get information that pertains to the areas that are covered by Red Wing, the locals that are in that area. If you're up in Duluth, you're going to get Duluth's information. The way that's really handy because there are some trades like the electricians that when you get into the Twin Cities metro area, there are 3 different programs available there. So it's up to you to decide which one you like, but we're going to give you the information on them. The other thing we're going to be able to do is you're going to be able to go to job boards and look and see who's hiring throughout the United States. And we're also going to send you any information we receive on jobs that are looking for people. Now, I want everyone to be very clear. I am not a placement agency. So if you sign up for Helmets to Hard Hats, I'm not going to call you tomorrow and be like, hey, you're going to start here on this day. It's just not how it works. Each trade has their own specific way of signing up. Each trade has their own application process. They have their own schooling process and their own bylaws. So each one is going to be different. And that's my job, is to get you the information to get you on path for that particular trade in your particular area. And then once all that's done, then we start working on helping you understand how to get an application in and what's going to be expected of you while you're doing it.
So I just wanted to comment very quickly, Justin. Everything you said is 100% spot on from what I see in the education. What I've been doing recently, what a lot of educators are doing now, is saying that there are different pathways for everybody. And looking from veterans perspective is understanding what those pathways are and realizing that if your end goal, even if your end goal is when you get out of the service, what is it from your end goal that you want to do? And I understand that there's a lot of veterans that don't know what their goal is. So they have to, this is where a lot of us are here, because we want to help them. We want to show them different pathways of how to move forward. And some of it could be the education where they can use the VEEP, the 31, the 91 chapters or different whatever that they have. They can also use that within the trade schools. I mean, where I live up here in Bellingham, in Washington State, we have a technical college, we have a community college. These technical colleges getting a lot of veterans that get into the trade work, and they're using that their GI Bill, and they will utilize that and make a lot more than what I'll ever see in my lifetime because of the nature of the beast of where I live. However, I encourage them to do that because it is what they feel comfortable where they're at. Also, the skill sets that they bring when they come in. You are correct. We have a lot of skills that we come out of it, but and what you said, Justin, is making it marketable, making it how we can use what we've been taught to move forward. Because I can understand the whole gamut of different veterans that come out. I see them, and you have to know where they're at in that point of time to help them move forward for where they want to go. So, spot on, Justin. Thank you.
Yeah, I'd like to add on to that too. And when you talk about using the GI benefits, all of the union trades are accredited programs, so you can actually use your GI benefits to help compensate for the lower income that you make as an apprentice. And when I talk about lower income, I mean you make about 50% of what a journeyman would make. So you're going to work your way up from the journeyman level up to, or I'm sorry, from the apprentice level or maybe even pre-apprentice level up to journeyman. The minute you get into those schools, whatever the school may be, whether you're going in for, like we were talking about before, an electrician, sheet metal work, or whatever, you're going to be able to use your GI benefits to help compensate for that. You're going to receive the base the BAH allowance at the very least. And that really bumps you up a couple of levels in the very beginning. And then as you're getting those work hours in and you start getting a higher wage, that money's going to start dropping off. And it really helps you compensate in the early part of your apprenticeship program.
I was actually,
Hey,
I
Justin,
was going to ask you that, that question. So to highlight, when you get on the program, you're in trades and your job sends you to school, for your to get your certs, the GI Bill will cover it.
Yeah.
Justin, very quickly, do you connect them with the veteran certifying official that can help them navigate the VA and how to get the VA and the GI Bill to pay for that? Because I'm sorry if I get your name, Oogie or Augie.
Sepe.
I apologize. What's that?
He's got a real name too. Sepe.
Okay.
Everybody calls me Oogie. It's fine.
Okay. It's getting to people that understand what the VA and the DoD will pay for. One of the caveats about that is that there are certain programs that the VA and DoD will pay for that has to be linked, and that they've made it where they're going to pay for the education. Because unfortunately, we can look at different universities or organizations that have really been predatory toward veterans because of the GI Bill. So I would recommend for everybody that goes into trade or wants to do that, make sure you connect with a veteran certifying official that can help you to see what is covered and not covered, because there's a lot for every state. There's things that will definitely be covered and things that will not be covered depending on your academic progress in each one or the skills that you're going towards. So I just wanted to make sure that was out there.
Yep, we do hand them off of resources when they need them. We also work with the Minnesota DAV and in particular Dave Belfi, who basically oversees that portion of benefits here in Minnesota. And to your other point, I should also mention too that different states might have different programs that might also help with that. Here in Minnesota, we have a Minnesota GI Bill, which also helps cover on-the-job training and apprenticeship. So you would be able to, or you'd be eligible, even if you've already used your GI benefits, you may be able to use that to help compensate also.
The other thing I would want to just throw a caveat on that too is if you to go along with if you've used your GI Bill or portion of it, or if you for some reason don't qualify for it, because there are some service members that don't. If you're service connected, you also can use your Chapter 32 VOC rehab benefits for accredited programs as well.
Yep, that's absolutely right. I was going to mention the VOC Rehab I've worked with VOC Rehab already plenty of times and helping people with their apprenticeship fees and stuff like that. The other important thing to know about the apprenticeship programs are that the apprenticeship programs are an earn as you learn program. So they're very low to no cost. To be an electrician here in Minnesota, it costs you about $500 a year to attend school, and it's 1 year program every year for 5 years. So you're going to do 5 years of training. It's going to cost you $500, or I'm sorry, it's going to cost you $2,500 total. Is that right? Yeah, $2,500 total, and all you're paying for is your books and your supplies. Meanwhile, your education is going to take you from about $22 an hour to about $45 an hour in that 5 years once you turn out as a journeyman here in Minnesota, and then you're going to work your time as a journeyman, and then you can work up into foreman and make even more money. So the education part of it can be extremely low cost when you go into the trades. As a sheet metal worker, I did 5 years of school as a sheet metal worker, and the membership paid for my schooling. I paid my $500 a year for my 5 years, and then at the end, they gave me a check for the entire amount once I completed the program. So that's something else that should be aware of with the trades, is that you're probably not going to get stuck with a giant bill at the end of things like you would go into a traditional school.
Okay.
So if I might, so I just did the math on the numbers that you threw out, Justin, and that equates in a 5 year. I do math, so it's what I do.
2-day break even, right?
Right. So in a 5 year term, you're talking about $93,600 before taxes. So, and that's coming out with no debt, no student loans, nothing like that. I know people that graduated from universities with 4 years degrees that don't make that kind of money, and they're working at banks and retail.
And an important part to note is that when I give numbers like that, I'm giving the hours on the check. I'm giving the dollar on the check. That doesn't include the benefits packages, which are often 80-20 medical, dental, vacation pay, life insurance, retirement, pensions. And in 5 years, typically, you're vested in your pension. So in the first 5 years, you've already earned your retirement. So there's a lot of bonuses that go with it, but that was just the dollars on the check.
All right. So I don't want to run this too long tonight, but let's go to something real simple. You guys touch on a little bit. Blanco, I'm going to hit you up first. Let's pretend like we're going to do networking for dummies. I don't want to... I want to get rid of the dummies. Networking for veterans who have never had to network. How about that? Where's a couple points for these guys to start that you think would be effective for them? And then Gerald, that's your living too. So, I want to hear from you guys. I mean, we got other networkers in here, but we got some fresh perspective here tonight.
So I think veterans in general overcomplicate networking. It's not hard. It's not transactional. It's an exchange of value, right? And the nice thing about being a veteran is you have access to the largest networking community in the country, which is veterans themselves. So it doesn't have to be overly complicated. What you do need to do is set up a basic LinkedIn account. It doesn't have to be perfect. A lot of veterans think I need to do my LinkedIn. It needs to be perfect. I don't know what I'm doing, this, that, the other. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's constantly a work in progress. I am constantly working on my LinkedIn, and it will never by any stretch of the imagination be perfect. But once you have it basically set up, identify a couple of industries and companies in those industries that you want to work for. Do a quick search. Veterans that work at those companies. I promise you, if you send a message to somebody that says, hey, it doesn't have to be overly formal either. Hey, Tom, how are you? Thank you for connecting. My name is X. I'm just transitioning out of the service. And I always put this line in because it doesn't hurt. Like, I'm trying to figure out what I want to be when I grow up. And I'm kind of looking at X industry, at X company specifically, and I know you work there. I was wondering if you had a few minutes to chat with me in terms of like what requirements on there, what does that industry look like, what does it look like day to day? If you could spare like 20 minutes, it would be truly helpful. Your positivity rate is going to be huge. Veterans want to help veterans. It's genetically ingrained in us
Yep.
to coach, mentor, and sponsor fellow veterans because we want to see other people succeed. So those guys are going to give you some feedback, right? And when you get into that conversation, it doesn't have to be transactional. It can be just like this. It's not a job interview. That person's there to like help you. So have a resume prepared. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect. Like, hey, would you mind looking at this for me? What are some keywords that I can use in your industry and specifically that would be helpful in getting my resume looked at through whatever hiring manager? So there's a saying in the business world that says, like, don't ever apply to a job you're not told to apply for. That's good advice and bad advice, right? But the idea behind that is you network. So the point that somebody says like, hey, I saw this position. So now you have somebody who you've talked to a couple times. They've looked at your resume. Now you go into the website, you go on the LinkedIn, you apply to a job that you found, and you let that guy know, hey, Tom, I just want to let you know I applied for this position at this requisition number. If you could reach out to somebody and just let them know to be on the lookout for it, that would be a huge help. They're going to do that. And that's how you get a job. It doesn't have to be so formal and transactional. And don't be afraid to do it. All of us have transitioned out of the service. You're not the first person, just like when you went to basic training, like, and you made it through, and there are moments that you maybe thought you weren't going to make it through. Remember that millions of people have done this. There are 20.3 million veterans currently living in the United States. So that's 20.3 million people that have gone through something similar. That is a huge network you have. So just reach out to a few people, say, hey, how you doing? Do you have some time to give me some advice? Because veterans love to talk, and then see where that leads to. And as you start talking to more people, they're like, hey, I know a guy that you should talk to. His name is X. He does this. Cool. Reach out to that dude. It's really not difficult. Just people think it needs to be overly complicated and overly formal. It's very conversational, just like you're reaching out to any of your buddies at your previous unit. And 9 out of 10 times, like, that's going to lead to something, or it's going to lead to at least an interview or jobs or connections that can point you in the right direction.
That's great. Using LinkedIn, you don't have to even leave your house, meet somebody face to face, or spend money on coffee.
Right. It's great. And I think so. Just for full transparency, I was at a job expo, a virtual job expo, just this past week. And I really, honest to God, think that the Zoom call job fair virtual expo thing is a blessing in disguise, because you actually get more one-on-one time with the hiring managers and the people there than you would if you were in a packed conference room where everybody's jockeying for position to talk to somebody, and the recruiter only has 2 or 3 seconds to talk to each person. Thank you for your coming. And you get to like really delve in deeper. And then on top of that, you get to immediately hop on to LinkedIn, track this person down, send them a note that says like, hey, really appreciate your time at the conference. I know we didn't get a lot of time to speak. By chance, would you happen to have a little bit of time like next week on your calendar to speak with me more about the opportunity? Because I want to learn more about the company and the job position, things like that.
Guess what, Blanco? You did such a good job. That's what we're going to do next week, and you're coming back. Talk about virtual job fairs.
Awesome.
I like
Thanks
that.
for volunteering.
Yeah.
Hey, like, I'm used to being voluntold. You got it.
Yep.
When it comes to the
also-
virtual job fair, it's just one thing real quick is we should really promote that E2020 event that's happening. That is going to be a virtual job fair, but also an education piece where they're going to do breakout classes throughout the entire day. That's a good opportunity to learn a lot more about the trades and about other aspects too. I think they're going to have healthcare and different programs like that are going to be doing informational classes throughout the day.
So
I
I had a
just-
quick question here.
Yeah.
Would you guys say, because I do a lot of virtual stuff as well, dress for success?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
The reason I say that is that I know a lot of veterans up here, and they just want to, come in as, well, I'll use the term as a pogue. And I always tell these guys, these young kids, when you go interview or you network or you're going out there to these fairs, dress to success. I mean, if you look at my cover, I wear a suit and tie just to look very professional, but that's what I try to teach them. If you want that position, you got to sell yourself. And the thing is telling them to sell yourself, be positive, be resilient, look like you're like, hey, I'm the person that you want right now to step in. Okay.
I always tell people that it takes a hell of a long time to be able to just wear a t-shirt.
I don't want to get there.
Shiny background.
I don't
Gerald,
want to get there.
Yeah, so I will tell you, caveating on Mike, man, I do the virtual career fairs. I love them, especially now with the video options and the phone calls, because yeah, it used to be either 10 people deep sitting in a line waiting to talk to me or chatting. And in my profession, I can type kind of quick, but not fast enough to talk to enough people. So with that video option and that phone option, I can sit and look at Mike and go, hey, Mike, great, you're here. Here's the positions based off of my quick look at your resume that I think you match up to. What positions were you looking for? Well, I was really looking for, one where I can use my MBA. Hey, great. We have this one. We talk for maybe 5 minutes. I now have his resume. I have his contact information. He has mine. And that follow-up email I get right after he hung up with me that says, hey, Gerald, it was great. I would love to chat with you more. Can I get on your calendar? Those are the people that I go, man, I really got to get Mike on our team. Like, he really wants to join our company. I'm going to now put more effort. I try to do my best for everybody, but when you show that same desire to be on my team, I'm going to show you the same desire back. And another thing with it is also, don't be afraid, right? Like, we jump out of airplanes, we blow stuff up, we do all these crazy things, yet we are so nervous to hit that little button that says connect. All right. Like, everybody on the call, Matthew, I haven't found you yet, but I will send you one too. But I've sent an invite to everybody that's been on this call. Why? Look, I may not be able to give Mike a job. Mike might not be able to give me a job. But if I'm connected and I know somebody down in his area or up by James's or Justin who wants to go into the trades, I'm now a connecting point for another vet that I can go, hey, Justin, I was on that call with you. Here's my buddy. He's really looking to the program. You know it best. And you make those connections. So don't be afraid to hit the connect button. Is everybody you going to, connect with going to accept you? No, but hey, that's life. But the vast majority will, especially when they see that you have matching backgrounds with that veteran connection. And then also the tons of different groups out there beyond just Facebook, the LinkedIn groups, for particular fields. If you have clearances, they have groups for people with security clearances. I recruit for a lot of positions that have security clearances. That's one of the places I'm going to go look for you. And then when I go, oh man, okay, I'm in my group. I'm looking for somebody with, an IT background. Hey, this guy's got a second connection. Oh, he knows Mike or he knows James. Hey, James, I need to talk to your buddy about a job. You know if he's interested or not? There's that other avenue that LinkedIn gives you with other people recruiting for you that really help you out.
So to Gerald's point, two things. One, somebody mentioned earlier, I want to go back to it just briefly. Dress for success, right? Listen, you are always making an impression. Always. You might not know if I'm wearing pants right now, but I look the part, right? So that's what matters. So it's all about the impressions that you make. And it's easy to soar like an eagle when you're surrounded by turkeys. So where a lot of veterans make the mistake is they show up to these things. Doesn't matter what the meeting is. It could be an informal meeting. I'm not saying you got to wear a shirt, tie, and all this, but dress the part. Dress for the position that you want, because people, it does matter and people are paying attention. And to Gerald's point, when you send these LinkedIn accounts, and I understand that all of this can be kind of overwhelming. Like when you take all of this information, I need to be social, I need to network, I need to do all these things, right? It's actually, when you break it down, not hard. Identify an industry you want to work in, identify 3 companies in those industries that you want to work for, find some people in there that have the title of veteran, send them a quick informal, hey, how are you note, and then break it down. Where people fail is they just hit the connect button, to Gerald's point, and they don't send any sort of context, right? Hey, you can have 3,000 connections on LinkedIn, but if you've never talked to any of them, what does it matter, right? You want those referrals, you want those connections, you want people to send you to other people. Talk to this guy, I'm going to connect you on LinkedIn. Those are the connections that are very valuable. Just hitting a connect button with no context and not reaching out to that person, or having a Rolodex of LinkedIn contacts 4,000 deep, but you've never had a conversation with any of them, isn't very valuable. So like, break it down, and it's not as enormous a task as you might think. It's literally just saying hello to people, legit.
Mike, you put up a post probably a month ago. I had to laugh about it, and it was something like, yeah, you went to Ranger school and selection, but you do chicken shit to make a LinkedIn profile or something like that, right? I mean, you know, everybody that's on this call tonight's been a tough position, tougher than clicking with their either left index finger or right index finger, right?
Right.
So,
And I just want to
I'm just a
mention real quick
janitor
too.
in college. I don't know what you're talking about.
I want to mention on the LinkedIn front, you know, we do have a phenomenal resource here in Battle Buddies USA group for LinkedIn. You know, Mr. Pete LaValle. You know, I've never seen him turn down a request for help.
Well, thanks, James. I appreciate that. Yeah, and just to echo Gerald and Mike are talking about LinkedIn. It's a phenomenal platform, and it doesn't hurt you to be on there at all. Basic is definitely good enough to get started, and I like how you put it that it's always a work in progress. It is. It doesn't have to be perfect, but it's so effective. I mean, you can search. It's a total turnkey portal. You can search for jobs. You can search for companies. You can search for contacts. Anybody that can help you, and you don't even have to. You don't spend 1 calorie off your desk to do it. It's almost too lazy. If I had to criticize it, I'd say it allows you to be too lazy. But for the amount of mileage you can cover, I can't say a bad word about it. And the cost, free. You know, and the premium, LinkedIn Premium, which gives you stats and all kinds of information to help you dial in careers and jobs and connect with people. That's a paid subscription, but guess what, vets? It's free for us.
Yeah. Well, since we're on a LinkedIn topic, and I got the whole freaking sandwich over here from all the perspective, I think big issue with especially guys that just got out, they do the opposite of bullshitting and overselling themselves. They undersell. They don't know how to market their skills.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, LinkedIn is actually a good tool for that. You go on another veterans or successful veterans who transition successfully, you go and look at their page and see what they have, and it gives you like ideas. Oh wait, like I did that too, I have that too, you know. So you can use it in that way too. And then if you guys have any advice for these guys getting out, like, now is the time.
don't take TAP lightly. If you can get on the fellowship program, the Army I know is doing that right now. I think they're extending it out to 6 months here soon. Take advantage of it. You get active duty pay, and you get a full-time big boy job, big girl job, and talk to a new person every day that you transition. And your story should be kind of like how Mike put it earlier. Hey, I'm just looking for ideas. I'm looking for people to talk to. I'm just, you know, when I first got started in sales, I always played the I'm a new guy. I don't know what I'm doing. You know, help me sell you something. You know, what is it? I don't know. Maybe we can do that. Maybe we can't. But I knew the answer, right? Just play conveniently stupid, right, James? Right?
Yeah, to a point. To a point, you know,
Yeah,
he's good at that.
you get past that point. That works for a little bit, but you got to also be careful that when you start getting into place, you have to be able to back up what you say.
Yeah.
You know, if you, and I'm sure Gerald and Mike and even Justin can attest to this. If you put something on your resume or LinkedIn, it's fair game to be talked about.
Yep.
So be able to back up what you're putting on there.
One other thing for that interview that you bring up a really good point about backing up what you say in your LinkedIn and your resume. The other is, you know, in DOD as a whole, we can ask you whatever we want, right? Nothing's off the table. In corporate America, there is a lot off the table, all right? So don't give out information that doesn't need to be given out. If somebody says, tell me a little bit about yourself, cover the important things, right? This isn't the promotion board, right? Where you lay out your dog's first name, your street you grew up on, all of those things. Great, thanks. but
I'd never
I don't
tell
need that
DOD
information.
My dog's name.
Right? Like I don't need that.
Crazy.
I don't need that in the interview. And in the long term, it will hurt you more than it will ever help you. So make sure you know those HR laws, right? Because those are the things that they can't use against you. So don't give them an opportunity to. Because once you put it out there, it becomes fair game. And they don't have to tell you. So know that. Just like I said, be safe on some of those areas, because not everyone is above board.
Any last words from anybody around here? Want to wrap it up? We went way
Just
over.
one thing, you know, veterans that are watching this, you've already taken the first step in, you know, networking and finding out more information about the different kinds of things that are out there, different kind of groups. Talk to everyone. Talk to your Family Assistance Center. Talk to Citizen Soldier for Life. Talk to the Soldier for Life program. Talk to them all. We're all tied in some way, shape, or form. Most of the networking meetings that happen up here in Minnesota, I'm going to see the same people at every single meeting. And they're all the people who are running all these different programs. So we do talk, we do interact with each other, all the different programs. So if we run into you and we talk to you about something, by chance you get on one of these things and you ask us a question, we probably have answers outside of our own scope of work already. So it never hurts to ask questions, and it never hurts to just put yourself out there with different veteran programs and different veteran groups.
Nice. Anyone else?
That was great. I was just going to say, always, you know, strive to do your best. Keep getting, you know, whatever you want to do. If you're still in the service, get those free educational classes. Get everything that's free. Get the things that will rack up. Make sure you like your 201 file when you get out. For those that are in the Army, the 201 file is basically that has everything that you've ever done. And just make sure it's up to date, up to par. When you go through TAPS, make sure everything in there is in there that you want. Take your time. Don't try to rush out. I mean, when my last duty station at Fort Irwin, I wanted to get out of the Army. I was so done back in 1998. What should have taken me maybe a couple weeks took me 3 days. Take your time. You know, take your time and get everything squared away before you get out. It's so much easier.
Yeah. Don't take transition light, guys. Do not.
I got one more point, Chuck.
Yep.
Anybody else wants to follow up? So just two things for everybody that's watching. A lot of veterans, what they tend to do is they just put too much on their plate. There are so many programs out there in terms of certifications and opportunities that you have. Veterans just take a giant spoon and just slopping that stuff on the plate. And then they become overwhelmed and it becomes too much. Understand what these programs offer and then how that aligns with your objectives and your ambitions for the future, right? Don't just start taking classes and certifications just for the sake of doing them. Understand how that's going to benefit you in the long run and how that aligns with what it is you want to do, right? Target your efforts. It's important because otherwise you're going to lose your mind. And I will leave you with this. Don't be so afraid to fail that you forget how to win. And a lot of veterans are so afraid of networking and doing these things because they're afraid that they're going to fail at them for whatever reason it might be, that they forget how to win, right? So with winning comes a little bit of failure and a little bit of understanding and a little bit of learning. And that's okay. But don't be so afraid to fail you forget how to win.
I think that's a perfect place to end it. So I do have one request out of everybody on the call here. Throw your LinkedIns onto the Facebook chat when we wrap up here so that everybody can connect with us. Everybody here, if you guys could return next week, it'd be amazing. I think this was probably one of the best roundtable discussions that we've had. We touch a lot of different areas too for real wide spectrum of our guys.
Absolutely.
So, thanks for tuning in, guys.
Yeah, thanks.
Next
Thanks,
week.
Chuck, for having us.
Thanks
Thanks for having us,
guys.
Chuck.
Thanks for
Great
the
talking to
opportunity.
y'all.
Bye, everybody.
There we go.